Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Starting at $3 a month. Get access to unique episodes, plus a blog, chat room, giveaways, shout-outs, and more. Gators Breakdown Plus is furthering the interaction with fans and listeners like you. Head to gatorsbreakdown.supportingcast.fm to join Gators Breakdown Plus today. Gators Breakdown. Because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. And boy, this is fun, isn't it? It's actually fun covering recruiting again for the Florida Gators. 2 commits in one day. First, Kelby Collins. Previous episode about that. If you haven't checked it out, get the defensive lineman from Alabama, over Alabama. Go check that one out. After you watch this one that you're in on right now as another defensive lineman. This one from IMG, Will Norman, commits to the Gators. 2 defensive linemen in one day. 2 big-time defensive linemen in one day for the Gators. We knew this was going to be a big weekend. And this one was a bit of a surprise. I think we were looking for this one. This one was out there somewhere. Just didn't know when it was going to happen. I mean, I guess we could probably say if at the same time as well. I'll kind of get into that storyline a bit. But in the end, it gets done right here. And woo, Gators on fire right now. This defensive line class on fire right now. And it's not. I don't want to count the chickens before they hatch. Probably not done. We'll get into that, hopefully, with another episode on Sunday. But, man, good news on the recruiting front for the Florida Gators. All right, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Late night here. We'll be going into Sunday. I'm starting this about, it was like 2 minutes before midnight right there on Saturday. Clock just struck midnight, so we're going from Saturday to Sunday right here. Wish I could have got to this one a little bit sooner, but you guys know wasn't going to go too far without it. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. About 100 of you checking this out live right now here at midnight, Saturday, Sunday. Leave a comment. I'll get to some of the comments later on in the episode before we sign off. All that stuff supports Gators Breakdown on the YouTube side of things. Check us out at the home of Gators Breakdown, news4jax.com/Gators Breakdown. You can check all the past episodes out there, as well as News4Jax coverage of the Gators, and keep the conversation going. Become a member of Gators Breakdown Plus if you haven't done so yet. A chance to win tickets, a pair of tickets to Florida versus Utah, and keep the conversation going on that Discord server. So I even got the Discord pulled up. Some of you are watching from the Gators Breakdown Plus side as well. Thank you so much. Let's get this going. You know where we're going with this. Gator Nation, let's go. We got to commit, and it is Will Norman, defensive lineman, 4-star on both services, 143rd ranked player on the 24/7 Sports Composite, 21st defensive lineman, 156 on the On3 consensus, 18th ranked defensive lineman, a 4-star on both services is Will Norman. So big time get for the Gators, building up that defensive line for the Gators. Sean Spencer on fire right here for the Gators, and 6'5", 290 pounds. Woo. Florida needs the size, needs the beef up front right there in the middle, of course, and Gators getting it right here, 6'5", 290 pounds. Norman, he's the 4th highest commit in this class right now, behind Kelby Collins, Aiden Mizell, Eugene Wilson. I'll have more on that later. I've shared the little stat out there on Twitter and on Gators Breakdown Plus Discord about the top of this class. Well, there's a trend there. We'll get into that. But 4th highest commit of this class, another 4-star added to this class. We'll get into a whole class look, but focusing in right here on Will Norman. On 3 says a fluid defensive lineman who is relatively new to football. Measured in 6'4", 296 pounds in February of 2022, but has since leaned up heading to his senior season, says On 3's director of scouting and rankings, Charles Power, has average length with 32.5-inch arms, a converted basketball player who made the move to IMG from St. Thomas More High School in Connecticut prior to his junior season. So not originally from Florida, moved down to go play football at IMG. A fluid, coordinated mover, lines up as a big defensive end and at defensive tackle for IMG. Has the functional athleticism and coordination to develop into an effective interior pass rusher, still developing with his technique and is inexperienced relative to most other blue-chip defensive linemen at this stage, older for the cycle as he turned 18 years old in January of 2022. So an important get as well for the Gators is a player that can play in the middle at defensive tackle, can take on double teams with size and strength. Given his basketball background, of course, probably more athletic than some of his peers would be at that position than a normal defensive tackle. And excuse me if that sounds a little bit like Gervon Dexter. Basketball background, relatively new to the game of football. Now, he doesn't have as high as a recruiting profile as Gervon does, or did, but a very similar background with the basketball background and using that athleticism to come along and put a pretty good recruiting profile together. And he told 24/7 Sports, knowing I'm a big guy, but I'm also athletic, and this is about why maybe he would choose Florida. Just knowing they would have me slated and doing different things in the run game, that is definitely eye-opening. I don't want to be one of those defensive linemen that are a full-blown nose guard. They want to move me around, do some stunts, let me slant here and there. Moving around would definitely make me feel good. Once again, very similar to what we think Gervon Dexter will kind of do in this defense. So, very athletic background like that. Is probably will only get better. Very inexperienced as a football player, making that transition from basketball. So this one, it's been trending for quite a long time. Ever since those early visits in the spring started happening, heard this one was trending pretty well for Florida, and the commit could come at any time. Well, the spring months went by, summer months started going by, and kept keeping tabs, kept asking, "Hey, what about Will Norman? Where's this one going? Where's this one going?" And couldn't never really get a straight answer. Maybe he was taking his time, but it's been trending for quite a while. I guess he just wanted to take his time, but nothing wrong with that. But as we sit here, or sat here over the last month or so, and then especially recently along the defensive line, spots started filling up. Overall in the class, last month and a half, but then starting to focus on the defensive trenches, and spots started filling up. And there was only one way to guarantee you were getting a spot in this defensive line class, and that was to commit now. Kelby Collins earlier today. A scheduled commitment from Cameron James tomorrow. So expected Florida all the way there. Will Norman on Saturday evening claims his spot in the class. So a background, too, with Sean Spencer. Sean Spencer and Will Norman, they actually have a prior relationship dating back to Norman's time in the Northeast when Sean Spencer was up there with the New York Giants. Spencer may have been coaching pro football, but was still looked at as a mentor there for Will Norman. So that relationship probably pays off a bit. He was very, very cognizant of who Sean Spencer was. That relationship dates back now, even before Will Norman came down to IMG. May have had a little part in paying off there. One big storyline that should not be overlooked here when getting Will Norman in this class, getting into IMG once again. That cannot be overstated. It has been a struggle point for Florida. Overall state of Florida recruiting has been, but the top football factory in the state has been a big issue for the Gators. You are the flagship program in the state, and you had trouble with one of the flagship programs in the country, especially in the state of Florida. Should not be that way. Should not be that hard. Turns out, may not be. Billy Napier comes in, Kamari Wilson last class. Najee Harris, offensive lineman, earlier this class. Folks, IMG has fielded a football team since 2013. And Florida hasn't got a single player from there since Kamari Wilson in the last cycle. Think about that. 2013, and it's taken this long to get IMG products to Gainesville. And I know some people will throw out Kamar Wilcoxon, and maybe counts to a point, but he had just transferred there, never played a down of football for IMG, was going to, but he reclassified and then joined Florida. He was going to play his senior year there, but he was only there for a couple months. So I don't really count that one. If you want to, okay, go right ahead. But Florida could not get into IMG under the previous regimes. And now it has become a part of Billy Napier's recruiting. That one can't be overstated. So, Kelby Collins earlier today, now Will Norman. This defensive front with whenever in the last episode when Collins committed, but TJ Searcy, the 159th ranked player. Isaiah Nixon, maybe more of an outside linebacker, but 205th ranked player in the country. 255th ranked player in the country, Gavin Hill, a defensive lineman for the Gators, locally, Gainesville product. Add that to Kelby Collins, who is the 70th ranked player in the country. Will Norman, 143rd ranked player in the country. Gators making big moves in the trenches up front on the defense. Hopefully one more on the way on Sunday with Cameron James. Kelby Collins, right there at the top of the list. You get him in the fold. You start marking them off on this list now. Throwing that list up I've been using for the last few features on the defensive line. Coming into this weekend, we were looking to check off two names on this list right here. Kelby Collins and Cameron James. See what Cameron James does on Sunday, but we all feel good there. Now you mark off Will Norman. So the 70th ranked player commits to Florida today. The 143rd overall player in the country commits to Florida today, adding to the defensive line. I'm about to get into the importance of that. But there's that list, showing it up for you one more time. So we'll see what the future holds. We'll go over it again tomorrow. Hopefully, with Cameron James, we'll have an episode there. We'll keep looking at that list. Kelby Collins in the class. Tamorian Parker, we'll see what happens there. Jordan Hall, we'll see what happens down the road there. Florida-Georgia battle. Will Norman commits to Florida today. Xavier Hardy, probably trending away. Xavier McLeod, I don't know about that one too much. As I said in the last episode, some South Carolina people think Florida's in a good shape there. We'll see. Cameron James commits on Sunday, 188th ranked player in the country. Caden McDonald, another true defensive tackle, 290th ranked player, 329 on the on 3. He was 290 on 24/7. See where it goes. But Florida's starting to mark some off that big list right there. So with the commitment of Will Norman, the Gators have moved past Tennessee for 11th on the 24/7 Sports Composite. He is a 19th commit in the class, the 17th four-star in the class, and another from the state of Florida, given 16 commits of the 19 from the state of Florida. Now, IMG does get a little weird. As we said, you start looking at Will Norman, and he's originally from the Northeast, transferred down to IMG to play football. So that's why IMG's a little tricky there. But for the sake of the argument, in Florida, staying in Florida. So something I teased earlier and I wanted to get to, and it's the top of the class. Kelby Collins commits today, defensive lineman, the highest rated player in Florida's class, number 70 overall. Second, wide receiver, Aiden Mazzell, the 72nd ranked player in the country. Eugene Wilson, another wide receiver, 140th ranked player in the country. Will Norman, defensive lineman, 143rd ranked player in the country. TJ Searcy, defensive lineman, 159th ranked player in the country. Your top 5 players in the class, positions of need. When we were sitting here looking at identifying what does Florida need in its class of 2023, in some order, you probably would have went defensive line, wide receiver, offensive line. We'll see the future, and we'll see what happens with offensive line. Already got Najee Harris, of course, in the fold. IMG product, big-time get there for the Gators, and Bryce Lovett. We'll see where offensive line recruiting goes from there. But 2 of the other biggest needs were along the defensive line to get a talent infusion and build some depth. The wide receiver position to go out there and get some playmakers, the type of playmakers you don't have on the roster currently. Florida doesn't have an Aiden Mazzell currently on the roster. Not sure they have a Eugene Wilson currently on the roster either, or at least one that's going to be around for a while. We'll see what happens. Ricky Pearsall transfer, of course, probably about as close as you get right now. But he may be one and done. So 2 positions of need, and the top of Florida's class are filled with those positions. Defensive line and wide receiver. You're filling needs with top targets. You're filling needs with some of the best out there. It's not just about filling needs. If you want to close the gap versus Georgia, if you want to close the gap versus Alabama, you want to close the gap, Tennessee, Ohio State, Tennessee. Whoa, went crazy there, didn't I? Clemson, Ohio State. You've got to fill your needs with the top talent. And that's exactly what Florida's doing here. Top 5 players in the class currently. Defensive linemen. 3 of those. Collins, Norman, Searcy, and wide receiver Mazzell and Wilson. Pretty good plan there, huh? Pretty good plan. All right. A lot of fun being had right here. For the first time in quite a while. I mean, this class would be we still got, 2.5 weeks? No, 2 weeks till football, 3 weeks till kickoff. And this class is mostly going to be filled out. Won't be a whole bunch of scrambling going into early signing day. Of course, there's some big targets still left out there, and we'll see what happens with those. But this class will mostly be taken care of when Florida kicks off versus Utah in just a few weeks. A whole different feeling. All right, here we go. Looking at the comments right here on YouTube. Everybody, thanks for hopping in right here. Some of you for the second time today. So big Thank you to you guys. Trying to read some of these. Chris Sorley, Dave, what's Will think about this class now? Chris, funny you should say that. Let me go back and there was a conversation between Will and I earlier this evening. Making sure, I think a lot of us feel this way. Not Georgia or Alabama, but clearly one step away from being that. Inching, and Will kept saying, inching up towards what is needed. Definite improvement from the last two staffs. No longer stagnant. Fun stuff. So I don't want to steal Will's thunder there too much, but that's part of the conversation he and I had just an hour ago. So, Will put some timelines on it and gave that August 1st, kind of deadline of maybe trajectory and how we would feel. And Florida got a slew of commits right before that, and we started feeling good. And that was just the beginning of the trajectory for Florida right there. Brian Davis says, really good question here. Any shot with Keeley out of Tampa? Keon Keeley, of course, committed to Notre Dame. Took that visit to Alabama. Alabama may be in the mix now. Keeley will take some visits. He will probably be in Gainesville for a game this fall. Would be another shot at a 5-star for the Gators. That one, he grew up a Gator fan, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That one I felt good about early on in the process. I'm not so sure. Brian, I won't say there's no shot, but Bama's in the mix now, I think. But if there is that, first of all, does he get maybe caught up in what Florida's doing right now? I mean, Florida, once we get to, this week and reviewing, Florida's going to be the talk of the college football world on some level the next couple of days because of what happened this weekend. Maybe can he get caught up in that? Can he get to a game this fall in Gainesville and get caught up in the hoopla, saying, I grew up a Gator fan, and you know what, this sells me? That can happen. It can happen, but I don't feel as good about maybe a potential flip as I did months ago. Let's see. Duckman says, any word on Rusall? Heard there's rumors he might be all Gator. I think Florida did make an impression. And maybe this one goes back to how I felt around Collins. I said, it's Alabama. It's Bama. There's no way he's going anywhere but Bama. Well, maybe feel that way there too. But maybe that one comes back around. So I'm not really sure, how that one. I don't know too much on that one. But Florida's in it. It does seem Florida is in that one. Let's see. Let's go through some of the comments here. Rick Prada, I kind of did go through this one on the Kelby Collins episode earlier, some of the offensive line targets. I'm going to have to reassess that one myself as well. I'm just not sure the direction that one goes after Florida missed out on some of the top guys. Of course, Simmons, Kearney earlier in the cycle. Let's see. John Wilcox making a joke there. John, yeah, I like you there. Nice to have enough defensive line commits to be able to get them confused. Nice problem. Yep, messed up that graphic there at the beginning, didn't I? So, hey, it was bound to happen. That's what happens when I, try to come on late, do an episode, make those graphics coming in here. I was bound to overlook something. And, yeah, it happened. Let's see. All right, let's go to some of these comments. I don't want to bore you as I try to go here. And look, Brandon McStay says, any idea how the scrimmage went today? Yeah, that'll be more of a separate episode. I try to keep mostly these kind of episodes separate from on the field and recruiting. Yep. Q Lee. Thank you for hopping in here all the time here. Defensive tackle, linebacker, offensive lineman should be our main focus now. I agree. The question of how many Florida will take keeps coming up because, as I said, spots are running out. By the time Florida kicks off versus Utah, this class will be mostly filled out. We went through the list of defensive line, and defensive tackle targets a couple of times, but linebacker as well. I think you have to go flip candidates there if you want to. I mean, Trayon Webb keeps saying he's going to go after Grayson Pup Howard. I hope it happens. We'll see. And then also Lewis Carter out of Tampa. Top 2 targets, I think, on the board right now. Can you flip one of those guys? And then offensive lineman, of course. So when you start looking at the rest of this class for Florida, look, remember, there is no cap. You can sign as many as you want as long as you're under 85 when you kick off next year. So you put Cormani down. There's one. Let's see. I put this down somewhere. Yeah. And then Cameron James commits tomorrow, so there's 2 more. You're going to keep definitely going after Jordan Hall, the defensive lineman. So I'm looking at everything going right here because that's where numbers come into play. Everything has to go according to plan. Everything has to go pretty positively before you really start worrying about numbers. So there's 3 right there. It's 3 you start adding to a class that has 19 in it right now. And then you have to start looking at 1 more linebacker. Gives you 4. Maybe 2 more offensive linemen. So 6 spots right there where I think if everything goes right, that's how Florida would probably like to fill the rest of the class out. And maybe another defensive lineman. I don't think there's a cap on defensive linemen. So we'll have to see really, really, really what Florida does. I think they want to keep some spots open for the portal as well. That comes into play. So then the hard decision comes in the end. Do you have to start pushing guys out? So we talked about that a little bit on the last episode as well. So, and then I can't say the name there. I can't make it out, but he does bring up a good point. Graham announcement is expected. Is unexpected. Hope he's a Gator. Just Miles Graham, the linebacker, the 2024 linebacker, one of the top linebackers in the 2024 class. And that's Ernest Graham's son. He's going to be committing on Sunday as well, and I'd be surprised if it's not Florida. So even the 2024 class might be getting off to a really, really good start coming up here on Sunday. As I said, covering recruiting is fun again. It's been a while since we felt like this. And then 1 more before I go here. Snack Burrito, what's up with Dijon Johnson? Is he committing soon? I would think so. We'll see where that one goes. The longer it goes, I would say confidence around it probably starts fading. But yeah, I mean, there was too much smoke there, of course, for the way things were going. Then it got kind of crazy with the coverage of commitment stories coming out and commitment tweets coming out that weren't necessarily true. Not a lot of patience being shown out there for that. I do think we can start hearing something soon on that, whether it's going to be Florida or whether he's just going to maybe start taking, wait till the fall, take some visits in the fall. And then maybe it's not as stapled on Florida as we originally thought. I think we'll get that answer soon. I still like where Florida sits. All right. There we go. That'll do it for this episode. About 30 minutes right here. Double episode today. Probably we'll wait till, I don't look ahead way too much. I know Miles Graham does have his commitment coming up, but it's more going to be focused on Cameron James' decision tomorrow. I don't know if I don't know. I mean, you know what? Miles is going to commit toward the middle of the day, so that'll make it easier. I don't know when Cameron James does not have a time, by the way. I haven't seen one. So, but with that, at least with Miles putting his in the middle of the day, we'll be able to have his reaction to his decision either way in the Cameron James episode, or hopefully a Cameron James episode. I know I'm making it sound like it's pretty much a done deal. I'd be shocked if Cameron James does not pick Florida, as if you can't tell. So that's where that one goes. So I plan on doing an episode tomorrow. If that's not enough of a hint, I don't know what it is, just on my feelings of it all. And then we'll probably go over both decisions, but I won't go too far into Miles Graham. This is more for 23 guys, 24 is so far away. But Miles Graham is a little different. A legacy, Ernest Graham's son. You get him into class this early, I have a hard time thinking that one won't stick, even though we're so far away. So, all right. And Ali, somebody said 2 for James. Okay, 2 p.m. Okay, a couple people. All right, there we go. I must have missed that. I was definitely going to be looking at that before I went to bed tonight, so I can kind of plan out my day tomorrow. So, all right. So I can, I think Miles is 1, I believe. So we should have that the group together right there. And then one more. Adam Webb says, Dave, thoughts on Mpemba? That was one I felt good earlier on, too. Basically, when I was hearing good stuff about Will Norman in the spring, I was hearing Mpemba at the same time. It's trending pretty good for Florida. Does look like Florida, Georgia battle right there as far as where I think it stands. Not saying somebody else can't get more into the mix. I think he released a top 5 recently, but just for me and my experience and where I think it's going, I think it's a Florida-Georgia battle. I don't know. I can't peg him anywhere right now. To me, it's okay to say I don't know. I mean, if pretty much, like I said, with James, I'm pretty much giving it away where I think he picks tomorrow. But somebody like Mpemba right now, I don't. I don't know, and that's okay for me. Just for me to say right now, I think Florida is in good shape. I'm not saying in a leading role to get his commitment. I just think as far as the overall picture goes, Florida's in it. Florida's in it there. All right, here we go. I will call it right there. We'll be back possibly tomorrow, covering it all. Big weekend recruiting for the Gators. Hopefully we keep it going right there on Sunday. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SCC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for listening to this episode of Gators Breakdown.